Salute, salute, salute. The streets are buzzing. Welcome everyone to another show. Hope everybody is well. And we're going to get ready to chop this thing up tonight. Plenty of news to talk about around this league. And let's get into it. But salute to the chat. Everyone out here watching on replay, gang. Salute. And let's get into it. Of course, there's some news that dropped today, about the New York Knicks and the Utah Jazz talks with Donovan Mitchell. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to talk about, the timelines, and I get everyone's opinions and thoughts on this. You know what it is already. We shout you out. We keep a 100. This is healthy Knicks talk, and shout out to the best chat in the biz as well. But we always start off with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we start off with the good, and from everything we're hearing, and we'll talk about it obviously more tonight, but Leon Rose is staying patient. The talks have stalled between the Utah Jazz and the New York Knicks about Donovan Mitchell, and they haven't spoken in 2 weeks. So that's interesting. Obviously, Leon Rose is staying firm. He's staying patient. And of course, Danny Ainge is also holding firm and staying playing hardball with this situation as well. So for me, the fact that Leon Rose, the fact that I haven't spoken in 2 weeks tells me that Leon Rose has put, his thoughts out there on what he's willing to give up, and the sides are far apart. And the New York Knicks young core obviously has value, and the Knicks are trying to hold on to as many of these young players as they possibly can, and that's great to see. Obviously some of these young players had a great summer league, and we should try to keep as many of these players out of the deal as possible as well. And we're seeing a lot of Jalen Brunson pop up around. I'm loving some of the quotes I'm hearing from Jalen Brunson, talking about getting guys in the gym early, talking about how he's going to improve this team and this franchise. And that's what I love to hear as well. And I've been on record as saying for a while now that Jalen Brunson's leadership with this squad is going to be really telling. With that, there comes some bad, and there's been some average reporting as well over this period of time that led us to believe that the Knicks and the Jazz are closer. But of course, as we always say, we trust the more credible reporters out there, and there's been a lot of narratives about the Knicks young players, not being desirable around the league compared to other teams. But we're seeing conflicts. Obviously Utah and other teams want some of these young players that the Knicks have, but it's always like the Knicks don't have good young players. So, average reporting and bad narratives out there. The rotation, finding minutes with this thing. We need to see what shakes out, obviously, with this this possible deal coming up. But, it's going to be interesting with the rotation this year, and trying to find minutes for guys on contract years, young players needing, development being prioritized, and all of those things. And the ugly, a lot of fake sources out there don't get played as well. A lot of fake reports, over the last few weeks saying deals were 90% done, 95% done, all of this jazz. And I'm not buying it right now. This is the time anyone wants to get shine as well. So keep that in mind. And Danny Ainge is dragging this thing out. Most likely he's going to try to keep this going until training camp. He's entertaining other teams right now. He's speaking to other teams, reports say. But, we all know the Knicks have the best offer. And we're going to talk about it tonight as to what Leon Rose is putting out there as well. And the Rudy Gobert deal really did cloud this thing around the league. They got 4 or 5 picks out of that deal as well, but what Minnesota was willing to pay is not what every team can afford to pay as well. So that's a situation that's created a lot of animosity around the league with that deal. And selling the farm, no thanks. Leon Rose, I'm loving the fact that he's staying patient with this thing. And this season, the Knicks do need to play unselfish ball as well, share the rock around. We got a lot of ball dominant guys, which we'll talk about more tonight. But first and foremost, salute to the chat. Everyone out here buzzing. What's good? Everybody out here, Almighty Finesse. Hope you're well, fam. What's good, Jared? I'm well. Ready to get into it tonight. Going to be some heated topics, conversations. I love it. And a big task. Yep, the streets are buzzing all day, every day. Bodega Wi-Fi. Salute. Lily Phillips. Appreciate you. Jet Life. Salute, brother. What's good? And Geraldine up in here. Salute. We're going to get your thoughts tonight. And everyone else is out here as they continue to come through. The chat is buzzing. Dirty Dancer. Just walk away. If Danny won't be reasonable, we can't be tying up our draft picks till 30. Oh, you hit with that early. Yep, on point. Couldn't agree more. That. And I hope some Utah Jazz fans do come through the building as they did through the last few shows. So it's a great conversation to top this thing up more as well. Keep this thing as reasonable as you can. Um, yeah, like Gertie's saying, just walk away. Anyone be reasonable. There's a reason why talks have stalled over the last 2 weeks. The Jazz are now trying to engage more teams who knew they would. The Knicks, the Hornets, and of course the Knicks have had a spoken in the last 2 weeks. Obviously, they're going back and forth over the Knicks and Tarek, what's good? Salute. Yep. Thank God the negotiations have stalled. The Knicks are better off. Well, yep. Appreciate those thoughts. Yeah, and I must admit, after the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking about it more. And if you don't get Donovan Mitchell, it really won't phase me this season. Really won't phase me. I would love to have Donovan on this team still, and I could see the deal going through if it's reasonable. I would get behind it. It would bring excitement to the team. But at the end of the day, we're going to move forward regardless if that's all right. We're going to move forward with it. Salute JJ, that's good, Sam, that's good. Six Nation, salute all the diehards out here. And Carl says, you must not cave in. You think any chance Mitchell will be at Utah Media Day? Yeah, there's a big chance, I feel like. This is Danny Ainge. We're seriously thinking about, with Danny Ainge, with that situation. Audio's good now. Appreciate you. Appreciate that. With Danny Ainge, nothing would surprise me, and I could certainly see it going into training camp, media day. Donovan Mitchell's not that kind of guy that's going to act real disgruntled. That's the thing with this thing. This thing could be settled right now if Donovan Mitchell said, "Get me to the New York Knicks," right? Just make it happen. But in terms of leverage, there's a lot of talks who has the more leverage. But I think both sides have some kind of leverage. Both sides want what the other party has. It's just it's tough about the picks, the protections, which young players you want to include, and all of that. And I ultimately still see this deal getting done, but on what timeline, I've no idea. I think it could just continue to go through to training camp, and all of that. Yep, appreciate that. You guys tell me. I could seriously see this thing going through to a training camp. I can. And a Bonson, salute. What's good? And a Geraldine, if we get SPIDA, good. If not, I'm good with that. To you, sometimes things aren't meant to be. Yep. I think we're further along than that. I think the deal still gets done. But all this is negotiating, it's posturing. And like I said on the last show, we were led to believe we were closer to a deal than what we really were. That goes to a lot of fake reporting. if you really listen to the Wojs and the Shams, yeah, they reported the Knicks and Jazz were discussing things, but at no point did they say talks were imminent. Yeah, at no point did they say a deal was imminent with that. And salute Jarvis, LaFleur, what's good? And I don't want to be the New York Jazz anyway. I actually want the Knicks to contend someday, give up everything for a star, and then a superstar becomes available, and then you're screwed. You gave up unprotected. Yep. Yeah, and that's why I like what I'm seeing with Leon. Right, as we chop up a little bit more of the other news and stories. Um, Brandon Tierney also, echoes the same thing. Loves that Leon staying patient with this thing, right? Previous regimes would have caved by now. I think we could all say that and agree that the previous regimes would have caved by now, and would have just got the deal done. And also James Dolan, ain't getting involved to this point. He's not going to get involved, and he's going to let Leon do his job, which is great, 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 great. Ultimately, I think the deal will still get done, but let's force the Jazz hand. Like, from a New York Knicks perspective, let's not give up more than what we need to right now. Leon Rose is just playing it smart. He's playing it safe. Like we said last show, we're months away from training camp. Let's force their hand. You know, if Jazz still want what they want, that's all good, well and good. But let's continue to drag this thing out, and then see how desperate he can get, and of course see which side blinks first as well. But in terms of what Tarek was saying as well, we know how crowded the East is, ladies and gentlemen. We know how crowded the East is. We got our point guard. We got a backup center as well, a solid center as well. Let's see where we can make upgrades elsewhere as well. And I know a lot of fans out there have been keen on OG Anunoby, a defensive wing that is a really good fit for this team. Yep, Geraldine. Yeah, appreciate that. Charles also only side without leverage is Mitchell, which is why he not going ham. um, yeah, he's kind of in the middle at the moment. He's just balling out for the Miami Pro League right now. Um, enjoying the baseball. He's a big Mets fan. The Subway Series. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell is just chilling right now. I think he knows he's not going to be in Utah long term, but yeah, he's not that kind of guy that's going to force this thing, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about this tampering story with the Philadelphia 76ers. But yeah, Donovan just wants to stay quiet from his side of things, right? The Knicks know he wants to be a Knick. Utah know he wants to be a Knick. Now, in terms of talks with the other teams, the Wizards, the Hornets, yeah, let them put together their best package. Like, we're not going to lose nothing out of that. Let those teams put together whatever package they can put together. And we see we stack the chips up, and we see who's got the better deal at the end of the day. But also from Ainge's perspective, he's not rushed to do anything right now either. Take this thing as far as it can go, canvas the league and all of those things. And then we'll ultimately see that the Knicks still have the best deal. We have 8 picks that we can use. It's just a matter of being smart about it. New Yorker, what's good? I'd rather draft 4 studs in the 2023 draft, which is the best in decades. Yep, New Yorker on point with that. It's a huge draft coming up. I'm still unsure whether the Knicks want to really favor the draft and build through there. We know how big the 2023 draft is, and I understand how fans really are excited about that and getting generational talent in that as well. With that said, I still think the Knicks will push for the play-in, even if we don't get SPIDA. With Jalen Brunson, with our centers situation, young players still growing. I'd love to see Quentin Grimes being in that starting unit as well if SPIDA doesn't come as well. So there's win-wins with this situation. And I know a lot of us have gone back and forth with the Utah Jazz fans as well, and trying to say which side is more desperate. Um, I think this old narrative of the Knicks being desperate in the past is still creeping around. I don't think that's to be true no more. I think that narrative should have died 2-3 years ago. Yes, the Knicks would always love a star, but if you look at our roster right now and the bright future some of our young players have, the New York Knicks are nowhere near as desperate as they would have been in the past. This is a brand new regime as well. And when has this regime done anything that's reeked of desperation? They just haven't. They traded out of the 11th pick to get 3 future firsts. They got Jalen Brunson. They don't really reek of desperation moves to me. The Knicks could have done way worse than that. They could have got Russell Westbrook. They could have got some other older heads up in here as well with all these picks we have if we were really that desperate. Well, so you could go back and forth about which side has more leverage, but I don't see there's a valid argument that the Knicks are desperate right now. We're just not desperate. Aside from the OKC Thunder, we have some of the biggest amount of draft picks with that. And imagine if we do get Donovan Mitchell and give up the unprotected, and the Knicks actually win the 2023 NBA draft. That'll be crazy if that situation happens. JJ says, let's go Mets. Mitchell's a real one out here. New Yorker Mets future is so bright. I have to wear shades. Well, yeah, the passion's out here for the Subway Series. But yeah, we got to save assets. That's the truth, like JJ says. Yeah, if we make a Mitchell trade for the next big piece, the roster wouldn't be enough to be a true contender. So, which is why we got to save these assets. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, absolutely on point with that, JJ. And the writing's on the wall. The fact that Utah are talking to the Wizards and the Hornets. I mean, okay, I know these stories are out there, but those sides can't put together the package the Knicks can as well. And the Knicks are very much within their right to, to play this thing reasonable, a fair deal for what SPIDA is worth. I feel he's a star, not a superstar at this point. And I continue to go back to the ugly with the Rudy Gobert deal, right? Just because he got what he got for Rudy Gobert does not mean that out of the 29 other teams, there's going to be that same deal there again for Donovan Mitchell. Not every team has those kind of assets. That's a flawed narrative to me. Yet we all know SPIDA Mitchell is a better player than Rudy Gobert, right? That's where that comes from. But to think that there's that same deal out there from 29 other teams, it just doesn't work that way, right? Minnesota had 4 or 5 picks to give up. That does not mean that the New York Knicks or any other team has that many picks to give up for Donovan Mitchell, even though he is a better player, And Bonser says Leon equals Braveheart. Hold the line. Can't give them multi picks and our young talent as well. If anything, I want Obi and SPIDA rocking together as well. Yeah, great points about that. And it's also about the fit, Bonson. When you're thinking about what to give up for SPIDA, you've got to think of what's going to be left. When SPIDA comes, who does he fit best with? And how is that going to calculate into winning with that, with fit. To me, Quentin Grimes is essential. We need defensive wings. If Brunson and SPIDA is our backcourt, we need defensive wings. And RJ Barrett was on an island this past season, defending the best wings, each and every night. Right? We need to get him help with that. And it stinks we won't be in the top 5 in the draft next year with possible game changers out here. Yep, absolutely clutch. Yep, couldn't agree more, JJ. That, yep, possible game changing, generational draft with this thing. The Knicks are, in the middle. We are stuck in the middle right now as well. I'm happy about the Brunson acquisition. He's young enough, but yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see which teams end up with these studs after this draft. Yet New Yorker, we can't cave in. 4 picks max, and Fournier, Cam, and Deuce, or walk 4 draft 4 studs, and we have more assets. Too, yep. Excellent points with that. And that's what I've been saying too, fam. That's where I draw the line with that. 4 picks, you know, unprotected or protected, but 4 at max. None of this 5, 6 picks as well. I mean, I know Donovan Mitchell's an all-star, and Utah want to get the value that they think he's worth, but unless it's a KD, Curry, LeBron, I mean, how many players are worth giving up that many first-round picks for at the end of the day? Just for one player, just for that one player, and that player gets injured, then what happens? I pray some other team pick up SPIDA and save the Knicks from doing the unthinkable. So Tarek, yeah, tell me which teams you think could put together a package to entice Utah. I think Miami is always going to be around. If they don't get KD, they're probably going to Utah's going to probably use Miami to get the most leverage out of this thing. The Wizards, the Hornets, I don't see that. I don't see it happening. Those names are leaked for a reason. And Tone B, what's good? How can we be desperate when the deal's not done? Yeah, facts, right? Absolutely on point. We're not desperate at all. I think that's just getting people frustration, and they're holding on to that old narrative of the old new LOL Knicks, right? The envy, all of that situation around the league, right? Everybody knows that Madison Square Garden is where players want to be. It's box office. They just don't want to see us land that star here, right? They just don't want to see the Knicks land that star as well. So they continue to say things like we're desperate, or they make up narratives about our young players. Oh, the New York Knicks young core. What's that? Well, all of a sudden they want some of these young core now, right? Well, which one is it? It's either the Knicks don't have a young core, or then, why do you want some of our young core? A Drew, salute, what's good? Look at Ainge scrambling to find someone else. This ain't the same Knicks anymore. Danny, get with the times. 100, 100. Well, on point. Yeah, I like that. I like that as well. And, as we see, in the reporting, obviously talks aren't imminent. The two sides haven't spoken in 2 weeks. Right? What does that tell you, right? That tells us that either Ainge walked away because he wasn't happy with Leon's offer, or Leon hasn't offered anything better. He's walked away too. He hasn't countered or anything. Tarek, oh no, the Cam talk, shake my head, trade him already. Still Dre, salute. Does Nick's YouTube page dropping Grimes videos mean he's staying in New York? I hope, fam. He's definitely somebody I want to keep onto this thing. Quentin Grimes is just a great fit, right? I know role players can be found, but man, a guy that we drafted with the 25th pick can defend, can shoot, has upside, is only on his second year in his rookie deal. Ultimately, if this deal fizzles out, or when it happens, I think it has a lot to do with Quentin Grimes. I think Quentin Grimes is central to these talks, fam. And Lily says, do you think this stall is fake or real? Great question. I think it's real. I really do. I think it's early in the off season still. I think both sides still feel that they have time. And from a job perspective, Danny Ainge is just doing his job too. He knows he's got a bit of time, so he's clutching at straws, talking to other teams, hoping somebody could get involved, hoping there's a 3-team deal, or teams will make some consequent moves to get more picks to up the ante a bit. But yeah, Leon Rose is playing poker up in here. I think he's under less pressure. I feel, he hears the noise. The Knicks PR team, they look at the pods, they listen to Twitter, they hear all of our talk. They hear the fact that a lot of Knicks fans are happy with this young core, Obi, quickly, Grimes, Deuce. I don't feel like there's enough desperation from the fan base to push Leon to go all in, right? We all have a voice with this thing, and they hear it. They hear us, and I think we got time on our side. And Colin says this deal is so bad for both teams as well. I appreciate that thought, Colin, as well. Yeah, look, yeah, maybe it's a situation where it just doesn't happen, but I still do see it happening. I just can't say on what timeline. Yeah, the Grimes video was cool. Mini screwed the league, overpaying for Rudy Gobert. Yep. Yeah. At the end of the day, everybody's worth what somebody's willing to pay. And Rudy Gobert was worth that because Mini was willing to pay. But all this talk about what SPIDA Mitchell is really worth, okay, well, let's see who's willing to pay what. Again, you're worth what somebody's willing to pay. Does Miami want to give up Bam Adebayo? No, so far they don't. So far it's Tyler Hero, Strauss, Robinson, and maybe a few picks as well. So if that's what he's worth, that's what he's worth. Again, the side loses leverage when a player, whether he's disgruntled or not, when it's looking like a player's tenure at a team is over, that team's starting to lose leverage, whether or not they're going to force a deal or not. I think both sides are at a point where it's clear for the league to see that Donovan and the Utah Jazz do need to move in separate directions, whether it's forcing it or not, right? It's quite clear to see that Utah is better off moving on. Their Rudy Gobert deal started the whole process. And BK Teacher, what's good? If Utah insist on Quickly and Grimes, should the Knicks insist on Clarkson in return? Well, Clarkson, I think his salary is fairly hefty, but I'm not sure how many more years on the deal, fam. That would be critical to me making that decision with that. But again, it'd be a lot more salary. I think Rudy Gay is the talk with that situation. Rudy Gay is the talk with if a veteran's coming back from Utah. Knicks 100, Jared Butler with SPIDA, he says. Well, yeah, I could see that happening as well. A good evening, Sherwin. No other team has what Utah is asking for. Absolutely facts. Yep. That's why this deal will drag on a little bit. And as you see, speaking to Mark Berman privately, he says, Ainge could be waiting until training camp with this situation, right? There's no timeline with this thing just yet. Because again, Donovan Mitchell's not going to James Harden or Ben Simmons tank this thing, right? He's a good guy. He's a good character guy. He probably knows he's not going to end up in Utah long term, but he doesn't hate Utah. They drafted him. He had his great years in the league with Utah. It's not like he just, desperately wants to force his way out, but he could probably see the writing on the wall. And Colin is a Utah fan. Salute. And this is bad for Utah, he says. As a Utah fan, we get a top 15 player every 30 years. There is no guarantee that any of these picks will result in a player of the same caliber. Yep. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely true. And I understand, Utah do want to get whatever the most that they can get for a SPIDA Mitchell. They did incredibly well with the Rudy Gobert deal. I mean, for a player like Rudy to get what they got, that was a good deal for Utah as well. And I think they'll ultimately get a handsome return for SPIDA. Whether it's really what they want, I think this narrative that the Knicks have 8 picks to give means that they want all 8 picks. I don't see how that's fair. It ain't like, let's say OKC Thunder have 20 picks. It ain't like they're going to give up all 20 picks for a star. Just because a team has X amount of picks doesn't mean they're going to give all of them up. So I think this deal just, it's going to continue to drag out, but it needs to be fair for both teams. I think they will get a fair return for SPIDA, but also at the same time, the Knicks shouldn't give up everything that they have to give up either. Mitchell is not a top 15 player as well, according to Sherwin. He's just not a top 15 guard, with that. And Collins says, for New York, it's a bad deal because Utah is asking for way too much for Mitchell because the Utah ownership doesn't really want to give up Donovan Mitchell. New York is better off going into the season with their young guys. So I appreciate it. This is real rational talk up in here as well. Yeah, the deal could ultimately end up bad for both teams, but I know the ownership doesn't really want to give up Donovan, but yeah, the writing is on the wall. I think the Jazz do need to move on. That's just my thoughts on that. And it's always tough moving on from a player that you drafted, became an all-star, but let's be real. With these picks and rebuilding in a generational draft, then yeah, the Utah Jazz fans could be smiling in a year's time. And Tarek says there'll be no Knick fan happier than I if the Knicks do not pick up Donovan Mitchell. I want to win a chip someday. I'm thinking chess, the long play, and not the short-term gains most fans favor, sadly, as well. Yep. Yeah, Tarek and chat fans, I said the Knicks are in the best position they've been in a few decades now, with the flexibility you have with all these picks as well. Yeah, if we don't trade all of these picks, it means we have X amount of shots at getting a stud. Right, so that could be good in terms of the Knicks' future as well. And I Hector the uncanny X-Men over Spider-Man any day. Yep. Kaiser Soze, the Knicks don't need to trade for Mitchell. They can wait for the price to come down. Yep, exactly. And that's why talks have stalled, ladies and gentlemen. This is a situation where there's a longer timeline with this. This ain't a trade deadline. This ain't a player that's forcing their way out kind of thing. This is just a little bit of back and forth. The Knicks and Jazz, I'm sure the last time they both spoke, yeah, if it was 2 weeks ago, I'm sure that they both made it clear as to what both sides want to get the deal done, and it just wasn't to their liking, right? So yeah, if neither team's desperate, then just keep moving forward. Sherwin doesn't want him. He's from the next village from me. That is about 2 miles. Yep. And Colin says Knicks fans think Mitchell will naturally want to sign or be traded to New York because he is a native. J Tap, even if he's not top 5, he's still the best player on the team. Yep, that's absolutely true. J Tap as well. At the end of the day, you acquire talent and then you keep moving forward with that. That's why I still in favor of this deal, but just not giving up everything the Knicks have, right? We still need some flexibility to make that next deal, right? To add more stars with this thing. But when the terms got leaked from New York fans hit the internet, fans were like, Donovan Mitchell isn't worth it. And Utah fans were like, no, keep him. Yeah, that's why with these leaks, right? Truth is, none of us are in this room, right? We don't know what's spoken about, what exactly is the deal breaker, what's holding things up, right? So let's just hold judgment until more concrete stuff gets leaked out. Dallas exposed Mitchell's D. If we don't get him, I won't lose sleep. But if we add him and keep our youth, I'm in. Yep, I'm on the same mindset, New Yorker as well. The right combination of some young players and picks out of the deal. I give up 4 picks at max, and I would love to keep 2 out of Obi, Quickly, and Grimes. Keep 2 of them as well with just 4 picks. And I think that's a fair deal for an all-star. Yeah, Bonson, if you have more players becoming available like Jaylen Brown, Ainge's position will get weaker and weaker. Yep, spitting facts there as well is Bonson. Completely agree, right? Yeah, if Ainge doesn't like the deal on the table, he's right to walk away. But is his position going to get stronger? Right, you tell me. The longer this deal drags on and doesn't get done, are the Knicks get more leverage, or does Utah get more leverage? I don't see Utah getting more leverage until someone else can outbid New York as well. All this talk that they'll just bring Donovan back. He has 3 more years on his deal. Yep, those are facts. But do they really want to bring him back? Does Donovan really want to be brought back as well? I don't think that's to be true. And Drew says, honestly, the less Ainge and Leon talk, the more I can sleep at night. Yep. Sleep like a baby. Big facts. But so yeah, a lot of fans are thinking that we'll play or happy to play it in the slower build with the flexibility we've built up. We've got ourselves in this position, New York Knicks Nation, and our future's bright no matter what, right? It ain't like we are desperate. That's no narrative. I think that's a fake narrative that Knicks are desperate, right? We didn't even make the play-in last season, but yet a lot of us are still giddy about the young talent and the future as well. We want to see these guys develop and get more minutes. And a salute Sam Granderson in the building. Salute. What's good, fam? Where are you at with this situation with SPIDA? And to me, it's no big breaking news that the talks are stalled for 2 weeks. 2 weeks is 2 weeks. It ain't an eternity with this thing, right? Both sides made it clear what was what was needed out of the deal to get done, and they're far apart. So that's normal in talks of a deal of this magnitude. And Washington and the Hornets, they're not going to put together a package that is better than the New York Knicks package as well. Obviously, it's a pretty predictable move to try to up the price for the Knicks, drag this out. Let's speak to some other teams as well. But I ultimately see this deal still getting done, probably closer to training camp. And Johnny Davis, it's almost as if people in the league are pissed that the Knicks made moves and couldn't stop it. And now they just want to cause confusion. Wow, the Knicks hate is real. Yep, on point there as well. Like I said, yeah. Look, New York is New York. It's a huge city. It's the Mecca. And, while we've been bad for a while and haven't had star power, the rest of the league, always knew we're a sleeping giant, whether it's a New York native or not. There was always going to be a young up-and-coming star or a future established star that eventually wanted to play in New York or will find their way to New York. It's natural for other fans to feel envy, other execs around the league planting stories, things like that as well. What Leon Rose and this front office have done is built credibility. They've built stability. They've built consistency as well with not trading picks, drafting well later in the first round, second round, adding some young talent to this thing. And we're nowhere close to building a championship team yet, but we're certainly not hurting our future as well. That's the bad moves that the Knicks' previous regimes were doing, right? We weren't getting closer to a championship, but we were also hurting our future. And right now, we're at least not hurting our future with this thing. We're stacking our chips up, ready to strike. And guys, I'm happy Leon sticking to his guns and not getting fleeced, right? Yep, exactly. Yep, and expect more of these stories to come out. Ainge speaking to Miami flirting with Bam Adebayo, or other stories being leaked out to drive the price up as well. But yet, at the end of the day, I hope and I feel that Leon Rose isn't desperate for Donovan Mitchell, right? He would love to have him up in here, but it's got to be the right price. YYC says the Jazz really want RJ. Dude, that's interesting. I haven't heard that as much. I know they've got to pay RJ if they do want him as well. But yeah, I would not be surprised as well. He's a young talent. I feel like that's a deal breaker for the Knicks. I don't feel like they're going to include RJ in this deal one way or the other. And Sanger, what's good? The way he's touted, I assume he was ranked higher than he is. What the F is all the negotiations about? To hell with Mitchell. Let's continue the rebuild for another year. Well, yeah, I don't hate that idea myself, the Knicks can just continue to build until the next star wants to come, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, someone else coming through the ranks as well, right? This is just a ticking time bomb no matter what with the New York Knicks situation and the next star that wants to come. Yeah, And I agree with this as well. The Wolves destroyed the trade market with that Rudy trade. Yep. All that's left is the remnants of what other teams can offer now. The Wolves shot their load and gave up 4 to 5 picks, and that's not to say that, Mitchell's not better than Rudy, but like I said earlier in the show, it doesn't mean all the other teams around the league have that kind of assets to give up. You're worth what somebody is willing to pay you as well. And I'm not seeing any other teams willing to be able to offer more for Donovan Mitchell, unfortunately. If he really was that stud, right, that game changer, that guy that could deliver the Knicks straight into contention, I'm sure the Knicks would give up 6, 7, 8 first round picks, right? Like a LeBron, like a KD. If somebody like that, Steph Curry, was available, a dude to make you an instant contender, right? Teams would not balk at giving up 7 first rounders, but nobody's doing that for Donovan Mitchell. He's not putting a team in instant contention. He's a player that you have to continue to build with as well. And I want RJ starting at the 2. We need a 6'8" small forward who can D up. Yep, facts. Absolutely true with that. New Yorker on point, right? Let's get back to this defensive identity and making it hard for teams to score. Utah is insisting on Grimes, says Sherwin. I'm not trading Grimes. Yep, me too, fam. Yep, me too. Right, he's just such a great fit. And especially if you do need a Donovan, you have a Donovan and you have Brunson, you're going to need that dude that can stop the wings, shoot, take the load off, secondary ball handling, all of that, right? He's got a bright future as well. You guys are on point, on fire with this thing. I expected no less, right? No irrational takes. Guys that just want to remain patient and do fair deals. Kaiser, let Utah keep Mitchell so he can mess up their chances of getting Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson. Yep. Let's see, right? You're going to see who has the real leverage the longer this thing drags out, right? Let's see if this thing goes into training camp. Right? I'm not desperate to make this move now. The new Knicks, what's good? Yep, salute. Streets are buzzing up in here. Let's get it. Martin, what's good? If I'm the Jazz, I'll just sit Mitchell out. The circus won't harm their draft odds. Yeah, that's a fair point too, fam. Sitting him out, I think that doesn't really help their leverage. It certainly helps their draft chances, but it doesn't help their leverage in a trade either as well. So, yeah, I think the longer this goes out and the more it becomes a reality that other teams can't get close, I think they become more likely to take a fair deal. One young player, a couple of salary fillers, and up to 4 picks with that. Yeah, appreciate you. Let's get it. Sherwin, Randall is better than Donovan. I know Randall is hated, but the analytics show Randall as the 14th best player in the NBA. Randall, Sherwin supporting his guy as well. It's going to be interesting to see what the future holds for Randall. Got to give the Knicks front office credit to put us in this position. We have not had this kind of draft capital in a long time. Yep, absolutely true, Bonson as well. Yep, got to give them credit. They've continued to stack assets and picks, but whilst also managing to draft young players that continue to have value around the league, fam. And then we have a story below. You see the Sports Illustrated. There are reports helping the Knicks out too. Things will get awkward, it says, if Jazz don't trade Donovan Mitchell, right? I got to agree with that, not just because I'm from the Knicks perspective, but, they could bring Donovan back, but let's pretend that things won't get, let's not pretend things won't get awkward. It has to get awkward out there with that thing. RJ, with small improvement, can give you 25 from the 2 with better D than Mitchell. We need a 3. New York, what do you think about OG Anunoby in terms of his fit with this thing? Right. And another pro to just going into the season with the way we are is Jalen Brunson, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk about it more this show and your feelings towards Jalen Brunson. He's going on podcasts. He's talking to Derek Harper, a former Knicks point guard legend as well. A great listen there. Listen to that pod with Jalen Brunson and his leadership in this thing. We're yet to see what this team even looks like with a solid point guard first. And if we go into this season, maybe we like what we see, and then we have less need for Donovan, and then Danny Ainge is screwed after that. If it becomes more apparent that the Knicks don't need Donovan Mitchell, then he might have to take the next best offer. And Colin says Ryan Smith, who's the owner of the Jazz, is a fan first. He loves Mitchell. He will expect Ainge to get everything plus the Statue of Liberty for Mitchell. It's completely irrational. It's emotional for Utah for sure. Yeah, I completely agree, Colin. Appreciate that. Even if he wasn't a fan, just as the owner, to part with a guy who helped take your franchise to the number one seed in the West, to compete year after year after year as well. There's some sentiment there, and I could see how, from a business standpoint and from a sentimental standpoint, that they would hate to lose Mitchell, and they want to get what they can get for him. King Imbit, what's good? Get SPIDA here and Randall out. Peace, salute. Yep. So yeah, a lot of fans still want SPIDA up in here as well. Everybody just stay patient, like Leon is. I think this deal will still get done closer to training camp if it's fair for both sides. If it's not, I could see both sides continuing to turn the other cheek. And it's not just about Ainge. The whole NBA expects to fleece the Knicks. It's rite of passage. It's tradition. When other teams pick up the phone, they laugh before they receive the call. This front office staying strong. Yep, appreciate that, Tarek, as well. Yep, no lies there at all. In terms of, then I think the narrative is starting to flip in terms of not fleecing the Knicks, but the envy is still there as well. The Kentucky connections, the stories always leaked about the Knicks' young core isn't strong, but then we should be giving up the young core. I just don't understand, the conflicting narratives against the Knicks. And David Salute, as Leon says, is playing chess. My friends, he was waiting for the Jazz to engage others, so he'll know now what he is up against. So, yep, absolutely fair point there as well. And talk stall because of one reason, right? One or two sides aren't happy with the current situation, right? I think Ainge is asking for way too much. New Yorker says, can a skinny Randall play the 3? Obi at the 4? I don't see it happening, but maybe for tiny stretches of the game, they could play the 4 and the 5, possibly. I like Obi at the 5 more. He has leaping ability and better shot blocking ability than Randall does as well. I'd still like to see those two play more minutes together if they're here. Yeah, Sherwin says to Colin, DeJounte, Zach LaVine, Luca, Clay, Ant Edwards, Shea, CJ McCollum, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. All those guys are better than Mitchell. Yep, have to agree. Or Sims says Sanger. And Kaiser, Randall is not a 3. Yeah, he can't handle the ball or guard wings. He's too slow. Yep. They'll be taking him away from his preferred position, the bread and butter kind of thing for Randall. I think Randall's a 4. He's always going to be a 4 as well. Colin, I'm not hating on the Knicks. Don't hate on Donovan Mitchell. It's fine if you don't want him as well. Yeah, I'm certainly not hating on him. I know some fans will talk themselves into that he's not a difference maker, but he is a guy that will help a team. Absolutely. The Knicks just have to give up fair value, right? Give up fair value for what the guy is worth. But like I said earlier, he's not a guy that's going to make us an instant contender. You have to think about what's your next move. Donovan Mitchell is a guy you have to keep building with, because him and Rudy Gobert was not enough, right? So him and whoever the Knicks have, that's not going to be enough to contend either. So I don't think Leon's being disrespectful if he's standing firm. He's just being realistic that, like, hey, if we trade for Donovan and we give up a lot of assets, we need to make sure we have more assets available still to make that next big splash as well. That's what it is, right? We all know Brunson, SPIDA, RJ, Randall, and Mitch. That ain't getting the Knicks a chip, right? That ain't even putting us at the top of the East, let alone beating a Western Conference finalist as well. So, yeah, I think he's just being realistic. He's being smart about this thing as well. Yep, Randall is skinny now. Yeah, he's definitely losing that weight. And it'd be interesting to see. I think that's more of a fitness kind of thing, playing bigger load down the stretch, getting up and down faster. I think that's the reason for Randall's weight loss. Colin also putting out there that Utah doesn't want RJ. They don't want to pay him the money. If they go full rebuild, RJ is definitely safe as well. That's been the consensus of the reports as well. I tend to agree with that thing. But first and foremost, the New York Knicks don't want to give up RJ. I think that's where they draw the line with that. There's a deal to be made without RJ in the deal. Absolutely. And no one hates on Mitchell. He's a bona fide star, but he's not a superstar. And that's why some fans, like myself, don't want him. Ainge is acting as if Donovan Mitchell was Giannis. He needs to stay with the Jazz. Yeah, that's the truth. The Rudy Gobert thing clouded things, fam, right? And he wants to trade Mitchell to the most desperate team, right? He found that desperation with the Brooklyn Nets, with Ray Allen, aging Pierce, Garnett as well. He thinks it's a situation all over again, right? Danny Ainge is an old head. He thinks it's still 2018 or something like that, 2017. This is 2022. A lot of teams are stacking up their picks. But yeah, Colin says Mitchell does become instantly the face of the Knicks if he gets traded. Yep, he definitely does. And he's a star. Nobody's denying that with that situation. It's about fit, and it's about where the Knicks can go, with Mitchell up in here. And we're really going to see the Knicks' real agenda in terms of wanting to build a contender or just wanting to build winning with box office, selling tickets, selling merch, and all of those things as well. Leon Rose, he's been around this industry for a long time as well. He knows what a team needs to be a winner, I think, as well as his help with Brock Aller and the other front office execs. And JJ says Brunson, Mitchell, and RJ as our perimeter defenders. That's going to be ugly. Yep, completely agree with that. That's going to be ugly. Yep, a lot of concerns there defensively, fam. A lot of concerns with that. Yeah, again, if we don't want him, just stand pat. Yep, just stand pat. Jet Life, I am desperate to get this deal done. In my opinion, the longer this drags out, the likelihood Miami or another team could figure out a way to swoop in and snag Mitchell. Yeah, I get the fact some fans are worried about it still getting done. I still feel like the Knicks could up anybody's offer at the very last minute, fam. So I don't feel like it's going to happen. But certainly other teams could increase the price if they do get closer. I just don't see that happening. I don't see anybody trading 3 picks for Tyler Hero for the ability to pay him a max deal with that, and Miami being able to get the picks that they need. But I do give the front office credit for not giving up everything we have for Mitchell and staying composed. Yep, definitely, fam. This situation is, a front office that's showing a reserve right now, patience. Got to give him credit, absolutely, as well. Tarek, well, I want him to continue to be the face of the Jazz. My gift as a Knick fan. Yep. Yeah, you guys are on point. We can't give more than 5 picks. We don't want this affecting the draft 11 years from now. Yeah, exactly right. Who knows what the future holds with this thing? We need to stay flexible. Why not go after Jaylen Brown? Yep, that's a great point. I think Jaylen Brown's only available, though, in a superstar deal, like a KD deal, fam. I just don't see them giving us Jaylen Brown at this point, but he's certainly a player the Knicks should be targeting. Bonson question, can the Knicks use some of their multiple firsts to move up in the draft? Yep. Absolutely on point there. Definitely, yep. Obviously, it's going to depend how bad we fall in the standings. But with Brunson here and some motivated guys, I could definitely see the Knicks making the play-in at worst. So it's going to take a lot of assets again to move up. Fam again. Yep. Yep. 007. Yep. Just joined us. Salute. Welcome everybody. And did you speak on the Jaylen Brown situation? No, have not yet. Have not. But yeah, appreciate it. Let's get into any topic you guys want. This is your show. David, we can give more than 5 picks, and Boston offered 3. Yep, definitely. And Brown definitely going to want out if they keep disrespecting him. Yep, he is that kind of star that we definitely need to put our hat in the ring if he's disgruntled, if he's out there again. Salute LJ. But yeah, that's the other reason why you don't give up all your assets in a Mitchell trade. You need the cupboards full still. Ladies and gentlemen, we're still operating a business at the end of the day, right? Just because you have the assets to get something in, if that asset is not going to get you to where you need to go, you need more flexibility up in here. And Philip, it's nice they are taking it slow and not jumping on this opportunity to get him, but this trade will get done at our price. We have the Jazz right where we want them. Yet who knows, to be honest, what Ainge is capable of. I could seriously see him being too stubborn about this thing. Even Utah Jazz fans, like Colin is saying, they want the farm. They saw this, the Rudy deal. They want 5, 6, 7 picks and the young players and all of that. It's up to Leon to continue to stay strong and stay pat with this, right? Like LJ says, you're not going to fleece us. You're not going to fleece Leon. Yeah, completely agree. And hope this continues, right? If talks continue to stall, that tells me that the Knicks haven't upped their offer, right? If the Knicks had upped their offer, talks wouldn't be stalling in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, we'd be continuing this dialogue. And a Margaret, salute. I feel Jalen Brunson is our missing piece. Well, oh man, just thinking about that. Thinking about a Brunson, RJ, Jaylen Brown situation as well. That would be interesting. Sorry, yeah, you say Jalen Brunson is a missing piece as well. Yep, I'm on the mindset Jaylen Brown could be a missing piece. But yeah, I'm very high on the Brunson acquisition and what he can bring for us, stability, leadership, at that. And like I said, it might become an ultimate blessing heading into this season just to see what we look like. We might get an RJ Barrett that's on the cusp of an all-star berth or an all-star kind of level this season with Jalen Brunson's point guard play. Man, things open up a lot. That's why I could see why a lot of Knicks fans just want to stay patient with this thing. And Randall has gotten his body right. I hope he gets his mind right and gets his ish together. I believe in second chances, redemption, because I'm a grown man. Yep, absolutely, completely understand that. You're as good as what you've done for us lately. If Randall comes back out, starts playing like an all-star again, unselfish, improves himself as he matures as well, I wouldn't hate it. James says it wouldn't be as bad as people think if we didn't get Mitchell. Yep. Completely hear that rational take as well. Wouldn't be as bad as people think as well. But the media is going to be all over this. Oh, the Knicks dropped the ball. Oh, why didn't they get it done? Leon, what's he doing? He was brought in to get a star. All of that, right? Short-sighted reports as well. I'm sure if Leon decided not to go all in, then I'm sure he has his eye set on the next guy. Let's be real. These guys are not just sitting around, not doing their research. They could have word through somebody else's agent that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, wants out at his next opt out, or et cetera, et cetera. At the end of the day, the New York Knicks just continue to build the right way, and then people will come. people will want to come, right? If RJ Barrett becomes an all-star this year, Jalen Brunson becomes an all-star or on the cusp as well, that's a nice and young nucleus that other players would love to come and play with. Colin, I think a lot of people underestimate both Mitchell and Gobert because of the playoffs performances, but nobody looks at why they lost. Snyder got out-coached in every playoff series we've ever played in. Well, that's coming from a Jazz fan. I haven't watched every single Jazz series, but yeah, the narrative is that Snyder's a very good coach. So that's very interesting. I just feel like the Jazz didn't go far, or didn't go any further because of the fit as well. Donovan Mitchell's a one-way offensive player. Gobert is a one-way defensive player. You know, to succeed in the playoffs, you need two-way players as well. You need two-way players. 007 Angelo, Sherwin, you might be right, but that doesn't mean that we'll get fleeced to get him. Ainge's whole agenda is to fleece the Knicks. Yep, absolutely. Like he fleeced the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. They were desperate to make the playoffs and contend, but the New York Knicks aren't as desperate as that. And LJ says Leon drew the line in the sand, and that's it. Right, take it or leave it. Yep. And ultimately, Al balking at this, offer, whatever it is that's made things stall, that's just going to show that we're not desperate. We speak with our actions, and the Knicks head into training camp giddy about their young core, their picks, Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, etc. Magnum, what's good? We need a consensus on what qualifies as a star versus superstar. Yep. Great point. Yep. I'll give you my thoughts on this, ladies and gentlemen. A star is a player like a 28 and 5 guy that is an all-star, helps you make the playoffs year after year. But a superstar is a guy that you're instantly in contention. As long as he's on your roster, you're an instant contender. With that said, like I said, with Donovan Mitchell, with this squad, we're not an instant contender. So he doesn't qualify as that superstar. If a side has KD, Curry, LeBron, Kawhi, they're an instant contender, I think. So therefore, it makes them superstars. I would pull Ainge's card and dare him to go into the season with Donovan. Yep, me too. Me too. Yep. Let's just show that we're not desperate with this thing, right? Margaret, I want to see how the Knicks are having a true point guard. Yep, facts. Absolutely facts, right? We've been crying out for this thing for so long. And, it's been a situation, a ticking bomb for us to get this point guard. Let's for once see what it looks like as well first. And then we can rock and we can make better educated decisions. So, yeah, maybe they bring you Donovan into training camp. Maybe we start preseason and see what things look like as well. They could always trade Donovan later. Well, to our benefit, the price will hopefully go down. Right, the longer we wait, the price should go down. I don't see the price going up until someone else can get close to what the Knicks are offering. And Tarek says it's always the desperate that will screw the Knicks up. Think of every desperate GM we fired. Yep. Well, and I don't think there's that pressure anymore from above. That was the big factor in all of this, fam. All of this, absolutely. Yep, the chat's absolutely buzzing. Salute. What's good, fam? Billy Goat up in the house. What's good? Regomi. What's good? We don't have a star for Brown. And Margaret says Danny Ainge really want to fleece the Knicks. Other teams offering 3. Ainge wants 8 from us, right? Yep. Again, it's the deal for Rudy Gobert that screwed things. That screwed things over, right? But let's get things right. Let's get it straight. Talk stall because the Knicks aren't willing to up their offer. The Wiz, the Hornets, they can't come close to what the Knicks can offer, right? And fair enough, the Knicks are trying to hold on to Grimes, OBIQ, well, as many of those as possible, and as many unprotected of those picks, right? I'm all for giving up all of those protected picks, right? Salute quiet money. What's good? Pudge nice. Fact. And Billy Goat says, what Knicks player ever averaged 28 points per game in the playoffs? Get SPIDA. Knicks need a closer. Yep. I'm glad you mentioned that too. Yet closing is needed to win games, definitely in the playoffs. Yet no lie. And certainly a team with SPIDA could win with the right pieces around him, I feel. You got to get to that position where you've got the right pieces, right? Rudy Gobert, he covered up a lot of SPIDA's weaknesses. Let's be real about that. Having that elite rim protector really helped the Jazz be consistent for as long as they were. And but selling your soul for short-term gains, the Jazz can keep him and his stats as well. Yep. Well, yeah, and I think Tarek's speaking the truth here because he acknowledges that Donovan is a star, right? He's a player that's a good player in the league, but again, we're operating this as a business. I feel like the Knicks have a lot of young talent that we're yet to see the best days of, as well, and we need to do this deal on our terms. It has to be on the Knicks' terms because I feel like the Knicks can still walk away from this thing, right? Again, we all have a voice here, right? They hear us. They hear all this talk online. The more the Knicks fans are open about playing these young players and continuing to build the right way, as well, the less pressure this regime and this club will have to pull off this all win now, all in move. With that, Billy Goat Julius could be our X factor, still the best player on the team. I think on certain nights, Julius, RJ, and Brunson could be our closer with that thing. And Jared says Leon always has a plan B. Yep. Yeah, and certainly he's built this thing, and previous people as well have got us to a situation where we have the flexibility now. And look, a team that's flexible doesn't sound like a team that's desperate to me, right? If you have options, how could you be desperate? Ladies and gentlemen, tell me that, right? If you're looking for a job and you have offers from three different teams, three different employers, you're not going to be desperate, are you? Right? Because you have opportunities in front of you to make the best option, make the best choice with that. And I think everybody just needs to relax a bit, let these two guys go back and forth over it, and let's only do the deal if it's fair. There are fair reports as well saying that the Jazz, things will get awkward with the Jazz, right? If they bring Donovan back as well. So, actions speak louder than words, right? Let's see the Jazz bring Mitchell back into training camp. Let's see what we look like with Jalen Brunson and the like, and all of those things. Talks have stalled, but let's see after these reports now. It'll be interesting to see what happens coming up. And also SNY report, those around him, including the Knicks, have little doubt that RJ will reach his potential, as citing his work ethic and steady demeanor as well. Why the Knicks shouldn't deal RJ in a Donovan Mitchell trade. Yet I don't even think that it was a factor in this thing. I don't think Danny Ainge wants to have RJ's salary as well, and I don't think the Knicks want to give that up. A captain says they will have to trade Mitchell. Why? What happens if he gets injured? They will never be able to sell Mitchell higher than they can now. Any injury could blow it for them. Speaking facts there as well. Another situation, like I just said, let Utah bring him back if they value him so much, right? They keep talking about the 3 years on his deal. Okay, we'll build around him for these 3 years. You sold Rudy Gobert. Again, actions speak louder than words. Almighty Finesse says the 2023 draft might be overrated. Well, that'll be interesting as well. Anything can happen with the draft. It's a crapshoot. But the closer we get, the more we'll look at the prospects and chop this thing up. But yeah, all the talk is that it's going to be generational. And Colin says the Utah's scheme was to funnel everyone into Gobert. So Donovan Mitchell was encouraged to save it for offense by our coaching staff, and that doesn't work in the playoffs. Yep. Yeah, that's some fair analysis there as well. Spider certainly is no perimeter lockdown guy, but yeah, you have even less incentive to gamble when you have an elite rim protector like that up in here. Salute. This chat is absolutely buzzing as well. Hope everyone's well. We're chopping this thing up with the Donovan Mitchell rumors, the talk. We'll also touch on Brunson's leadership. But this Sixers tampering story is interesting. I didn't expect to see a tampering story so soon that didn't have the Knicks name in it as well. But what are you guys' thoughts on what's going on with the Sixers right now in this thing with Harden and the fact that they were able to sign PJ Tucker and Daniel House so soon? You know, his boys from Houston, you know, as soon as he took the pay cut as well. So this off season is absolutely buzzing, right? So it shows no signs of slowing down, right? There still hasn't been a deal for KD, Kyrie, Russ, DeAndre Ayton. All of those things have to shake out as well. So there is a lot of things factoring in to why this deal isn't done yet as well. David says RJ worth Brunson money. If Brunson averaged 16.6, RJ will average another 20. For you slow Randall haters, that means RJ Shooter somewhere around Brunson money. And Margaret says we do have that closer in Derrick Rose. Yeah, that's a fair point too. A healthy Derrick Rose is the closer for this team, right? He proved it 2 years ago. The only thing with Rose is, you know, now we have Brunson. He doesn't have to play 30 minutes per night. You know, you could save him for the fourth quarter with that. And Mitchell gets you a play-in, but you contend with Giannis, and that helps break down the difference between a star versus the superstar. Ainge trying to pimp us a superstar, and he not. Leon says kick rocks. Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, there is that sentiment of Donovan being the CAA guy and from New York as well. So I still need to see Leon hold firm on this thing and not give up as well. But I'm confident he'll make this deal fair, you know, when it's ready to be done. And like Magnum also says, Leon has made his offer, and that's it. Now we sit and wait for Danny to stop patting himself on the back and make the deal. Yeah, facts. Yeah, 2 weeks gone without talking. That's okay. You know, we're in the dark off season right now. We got no pressure on us whatsoever, right? This isn't an off season where the Knicks didn't make any move like last season, and we had to sign Kemba Walker. You know, we had to make something happen with Kemba Walker, but this season, no. We signed Brunson. We got re-signed Mitch. We got Hartenstein. We made some moves now. Quentin Grimes became the summer league, you know, all first team as well. So yeah, a lot of things going right for the Knicks in terms of this off season. But of course, Leon still wants that cherry on top, right? He wants to pull off this Donovan deal and it be a fair deal for the Knicks, and he looks even better, I think, with this thing. Colin says New York is looking good as is with a great young core. Continue to build through the draft. New York is turning it around. They just need to fire Tibbs and get more development coaches in and develop the kids. Yeah. Colin, that's what a lot of fans want to see the Knicks do. There is conflict within the front office and with Tom Thibodeau, of course. You know, his age, he wants to win as much as he possibly can, as soon as he possibly can as well. So, yeah, it's interesting to see what the line is that they draw in terms of being slower, you know, going all in on this situation as well. But like I said, a lot of things will become clear if the Knicks take this into the season and we all get a better look at what the Knicks look like and what the Jazz look like, what the league looks like. But yeah, the East is crazy now. You know, this is a new day. The East is a beast. You know, it's a situation where I don't think a Donovan Mitchell is going to push us into the top 4 in the East immediately either. So I could see why Leon is holding firm. It may it may not just be that he doesn't think Mitchell is worth this. It might mean also that he knows how realistic this timeline is as well. How about Plan Q? Says Eddie F. Um, yeah, the Knicks have a lot of options with this. They have a lot of directions we can go in. I know if they don't do the Mitchell deal, a lot of narrative will be, okay, well, a star doesn't become available every day. So why didn't we swing this deal? But this is the NBA. Like every year, every offseason, we say this, we watch this, the Jaylen Brown situation unfold, the Ben Simmons, the Harden thing, the KD thing, Kyrie. Player empowerment has never been as strong as it is right now. Everybody, contracts are becoming almost meaningless. Let's be real. If a player wants their way out of a situation, they'll find their way out. And Grimes could legit be a 10-year starter here, and asking for more than 2 unprotected with him is ridiculous. Well, yep, Dirty Dancer. I can see that happening as well with Grimes. Just the maturity he has, his age, his game right now. It's a great fit. It's a great fit, and this is a sliding doors moment for this organization with a lot of these young pieces here. I gave Quentin Grimes an A+ for my summer league grade, and what he showed as well, he got respect around the league now. And then our young core, of course, talking about their ages as well. Like Colin even says, coming from a Utah Jazz perspective, the Knicks are in a situation where we've never been this good in terms of the flexibility and with young upside as well. All we need to do is carry this into the season, and 1 or 2 of these guys become all-star or on the cusp of all-star potential level play. With a proper point guard now with Jalen Brunson as well. That is a future that I'm not upset about. Absolutely not at all. Gerard Salute, 4 unprotected picks and the salaries to match. That's the best offer on the table, with the salary filler being Fournier, Cam Reddish, and Deuce McBride. Yep. I think in terms of the players, you nailed it. I think in an ideal world, Leon Rose would love nothing more than to just have Fournier, Cam, and McBride in the deal, and to keep Grimes, Obi, and IQ out of it as well. In terms of the picks, it's anybody's guess, but yeah, it's back and forth. Big Shiesty salute. What's good? 2023 may not be overrated as well, but scouts may be overrated as well. But scouts are saying, yeah, it is one of the best. Yep, definitely, absolutely with that. Eddie F, appreciate you, everybody. Smash the like button. If you enjoy the content, we'll keep it coming. And I'll mention now, we got a guest coming on tomorrow as well. I'll be doing an interview with B-Ball Breakdown, Coach Nick. You all know who he is. We'll be talking about this situation with SPIDA. We will be talking about the Jalen Brunson fit, and the video he dropped was it a couple weeks ago as well. Was waiting for more moves to happen, but it looks like this SPIDA thing's just going to wait a little bit. It's going to play itself out. So we'll focus on who we have. We'll talk about the fit with Jalen Brunson, with RJ and Randall. A lot of question marks over who's going to touch the ball, who's going to take the shots. Is floor spacing going to be an issue? 3 of our ball dominant guys, all lefties. All of those things will be talked about. Give us some questions as well if you want us to discuss a specific thing about it when we break this down with Coach Nick as well. But yeah, look forward to that conversation as well. It's going to be fun. Yep. JJ, even with Mitchell, we're probably a 6 seed and likely not winning a playoff round. Going to need another big trade soon after if we get Mitchell. The thing is, Mitchell opens the door for more players to want to come. That's definitely something that'll play out. The excitement will be back at MSG. We will be a better team. It's all about the fit. Who's the next guy? How are we going to get him? All of those things. But yeah, I agree. We're not going to be a top 4 seed, I think, with Mitchell. Right, the East is strong and it's getting stronger. Right, don't sleep on Charlotte. Don't sleep on Detroit coming through Washington, I think, will be even better. Atlanta with a defensive guard next to Trae Young. Yeah, it's going to be good. I like seeing a strong East. To be real with you, we've seen the West so strong for so many years, and yeah, the Knicks do need to stack up against the best in the East. Jason, what's good? Iman Shumpert would be phenomenal on this team. Shump in his prime. Let's turn back the clock as well. Yeah, he would be. That's why a lot of fans wanted DeJounte Murray as a better option than Mitch for that for his two-way play. Spacing would be an issue, but yeah, it would have been interesting. I don't think. I think DeJounte really wanted Atlanta. Maybe that's another reason why the Knicks didn't go in on that. But a Jalen Brunson Grimes backcourt is lethal. Margaret, yep, completely agree. We got to see what his ceiling is. We got to see what Quentin Grimes' ceiling is. If it comes out in the future that we gave him up with Obi or Quickly and 4-5 unprotecteds, and two of those guys become studs, well, that's not going to look great for the Knicks as well. So yeah, we need to hold firm with this situation. Margaret compares Donovan with Carmelo with that situation, right? A bucket getter. How is he on the defensive end as well? I think Donovan Mitchell, in his timeline, it fits this team. And offensively, we need that guy to close the games out. I still feel, someone with a bigger usage than D Rose would have. But yeah, it's got to be the right deal. It's got to be the right deal. Brunson better than half these starting point guards, says David. Well, yep, I'm hyped for what Brunson brings, but to me, it starts with his leadership at the top, right? The way he talks, he's coming up, he's realizing his powers in the league and what he can do. He got valuable experience playing in the Western Conference Finals with Dallas, playing next to a guy like Luka as well. And I think that experience just is going to hold him in better stead coming over to the Knicks now in the spotlight. I hope the Knicks and Coach Tibbs gives Brunson the power to run the team, get RJ and get Julius in their spots, get them the right shots that they need, but he needs the ball in his hands, does Jalen Brunson. And that was a big talking point. He left a situation in Dallas to come to the Knicks. He didn't come to the Knicks to sit in the corner and watch Julius dribble the air out the ball. Also, so yeah, I'm all for a Brunson RJ situation with this, where they handle the rock a lot more and just get Randall in his spots. Get Randall in his spots to do his thing, but those guys need the ball. Wise, everybody trying to get their money and get where they need to before the new CBA comes. Yeah, no lies there. That's going to be crazy when that new CBA comes. Well, do you guys feel like there could be a lockout with this situation? I do feel like the owners are going to want more power now as well, with these players just forcing their way out, making these paper contracts worthless at the end of the day. Jose, salute. Knicks have a very good young core of young players and a young bench who are full of energy, who really go up and down the court with all these young number one draft picks. They're looking good. Yep. We're in a situation that we haven't been in a while, so salute to that. Robert, Ainge needs to realize what a true fair deal the New York Knicks are offering. Yep. I think time will play out and he'll come back down in terms of the asking price, I feel. Unless someone trumps us, we're still the leader in the clubhouse. In my mind, that has not changed. Unless a Miami make a deal real and put Bam Adebayo or someone like that in the center of the table, then, what's Utah have that's a better offer than the Knicks? I think Leon is probably trying to really hold Grimes out the deal as well. Grimes, Obi, and Quickly. I think I can see Ainge wanting two of those as well. I think he wants two of those and all the picks he can get. with that. Yep, run it with the young core. Yep, a tonal. What's good? Yep, run it with the young core. A lot of fans now are really on board with this young core that we have, ladies and gents. We didn't see them get the minutes we wanted to last season. Yet Charlotte, the interesting situation with the Miles Bridges thing, that's going to be crazy to see what happens with that and play out. Tarek says Quentin Grimes was really a top 6-7 draft pick in the 2021 draft. If you redid it, Knicks got a steal, and Mitchell when he was drafted, and DM when he was drafted, was not the player he is today. In fact, Grimes is a better player in year one, says Tarek. That's huge. That's a huge statement with that. I just love two-way players to me as well. Grimes, the way he's flashing, dribbling, playmaking ability, together with his shooting off the catch, shooting off the bounce, his passing as well, and his defense. Well, he's got all the tools. He's got a great toolkit and great size as well at the wing, at the guard spot. Some dude, what's good? I would say I would like to go with current roster, but Cam is still the 11th guy. Technically, I'd rather get Fournier out regardless. Yet, I'm glad you mentioned that too. We haven't spoken on it enough today, but the Fournier Cam thing, we do need to get a situation out of here where we get Grimes starting minutes. Hopefully, he gets that shake, and I think he's going to get opportunity in preseason and training camp as well. We need better defenders here. Jose says if Randall has a strong game this season, the Knicks will be tough to beat. When Julius is locked in defensively, that's a difference maker for me. When this Julius is locked in, focused, the way he came back 2 seasons ago from that setback, being an All-NBA, most improved, all-star kind of guy. One thing is he needs to come back mentally fresh and matured. We have a Jalen Brunson here now. We have a guy who is, the second first option on this team on any given night. He was Robin to Luka in the Western Conference Finals. So that's a serious acquisition, right? Julius does need to acknowledge the fact that we have a point guard now, and he needs to get his touches and get everybody involved first and foremost. And Reek on me, what's good? As long as Tibbs is the coach, the team will make trades for stars. Until that change, most of the players will be used as assets in a trade. Yep, I think you hit with that, Reek. And yeah, he's loyal with Tibbs, good with Leon, good relationship, those two. And yeah, it's a situation where Tibbs's timeline, we know what it is. So yeah, I could definitely see that being true. These guys do want to try and win pretty soon. Maybe Tibbs can still hang around for 2, 3, 4 years, but I don't think he wants to do that slow build through the draft kind of thing. Well, but also I wouldn't rule out the fact that Tibbs may be just setting the table, getting young guys, developing them, and in 1 or 2 years he gets fired, as well. I wouldn't put that past what that happening, especially with Johnny Bryant still here. Yep. Grimes can be our Clay, Margaret says as well. Yep. Let's hope. If he has that kind of ceiling, I would love it. Now, even if he doesn't reach his ceiling, yeah, I get your point. He can just do everything that Clay can as well. Obviously, minus the All-Star appearances and all of that, the rings so far. But let's see. We got to give Grimes some time. I know fans do love to get behind the players as well. Hope that they can become to that level of Klay Thompson and things like that as well. I think this is going to be a big year to see what Grimes' future can be and what his ceiling can look like with that, with when given reps and given minutes. And We just spoke on that with Fournier. I think Fournier's time's come to be better off the bench for this team, for being that scorer off the bench as well. He'll get all the shots that he needs, but also Grimes will get all the touches and playing the D that we need in the starting unit. Tibbs and the front office have a timeline to win now. I think Tibbs does, but I do think Leon has more time. with this, and I don't see Dolan firing another president so soon. Not especially with the fact that he's still putting this organization in positions to make future moves and set us up. You could argue he's not landing that big fish and the big splash as well. But if Dolan truly was irritated by that, he would have forced the hand, and intervened, I think. Tarek, you also got to remember as well, Grimes got hurt and didn't finish the season, but he was balling, and we know Tibbs don't like playing rooks here, but Grimes made it hard. I think definitely the injury, that was a tough situation. He was finishing the season nicely, was Quentin Grimes, right? And I think this summer league was just a coming out party for Quentin Grimes, right? Utah would love to get their hands on him as well. If Grimes is in the deal, to me, then you got to reduce the picks. You got to reduce the picks by 1 or 2. If Quentin Grimes is in this thing, right? Summer league, all team, all first team, and he's a right building block for the Utah Jazz. For them to build with, kind of thing. Antonio says, get Tibbs out of here. You don't play the kids. Yeah, he will be on the clock this year if these guys aren't playing good minutes and they're producing. I don't see him being able to survive, fam, another year with that situation. And these young players looking good, but not getting the burn. I think he has to admit, defensively we regressed last season, right? Evan Fournier did what he was supposed to do with shooting the 3 ball, but we really missed the wing defense of Reggie Bullock. We really did. And also, like I said earlier, we can't rely on star Jay Barrett to just be the lone wing defender on this team. Jalen Brunson's undersized as well. If Leon lets Riley get SPIDA, he will be fired. Look, there'll be a lot of stories written. There'll be a lot of talk if SPIDA does go to the Knicks. So I still see the deal happening until we hear more reports. I still think he ends up in New York Knicks. But if what you say happens and he ends up on the Heat, then I feel like Riley will still have to overpay, right? I think the Knicks would have sat out. If they don't get SPIDA, it means they sat out and were happy to sit out. And Riley overpaid like he does. You want to see a star, look at the sky. Knicks need to run their own race. Don't skip steps and let the young guns play. We don't lose nothing else this year. Yep, completely agree with that. Let's continue to build and strike when the deal's right for everybody. Nick Yak, salute. We saw a lot of Obi, Grimes, and Quickly 22 minutes, and Tibbs don't play the kids. Question. I think they will get more minutes. I really do. I think they earn more trust with Tibbs. I just think he had more license this season to go all in. We made the 4th seed the year before, right? For a president to intervene, for Tibbs, he won Coach of the year before, and then the season after he's trying to play veterans. I don't think a president's going to intervene, but we missed the play-in last season. This season, Leon has more ammo to intervene if these young kids aren't playing more. Jose, I think the Knicks are set with this young summer league core and played the way that they did. Yep. You add a Jalen Brunson. We're cooking with a whole new group of ingredients, right? A mature Quentin Grimes ready to take a starting spot together with RJ and Brunson. I think that's a nice backcourt, ladies and gentlemen. How Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle come in will be a difference maker as well. Will be a difference maker with this thing. But yeah, with talk stalling, I could see the New York Knicks and the Utah Jazz just taking this into training camp and start the season, right? We got nothing to lose that way, right? Let's play Yahoo Blinks first, and let's see whether the Wizards, the Hornets, the Heat, some other team out of nowhere can beat our offer as well. Sanger Grimes showed some promise preseason last year. We looked good, and then went left all year. So I get it, but this summer league, Grimes showed me something. Yeah, absolutely did. He got respect around the league too. That's why I talk about this narrative now. People want to say the Knicks don't have young talent. RJ's overrated, or the Knicks, don't have that young talent coming through. But then they also want these young players in the deal. So which one is it? I'm sick of these conflicting narratives against the Knicks. Right? They don't have any young talent, but then they want Obi, Quickly, or Grimes, or all of them in the deal. So that tells me that around the league, our young players do have value. Everybody knows the situation that they didn't get enough minutes with Tom Thibodeau last season. And Joseph in the building, what's good? Salute. Tony, RJ will get the bag. They will do everything to move Randall this season. Yeah, look, there's some other reports out there which aren't, confirmed reports as well, so I won't dive into them, but there's a lot of talk that Julius won't be on the team if we do land SPIDA as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think we'll get our answer this season as to whether Randall is here for the long term or not. And Grimes started a few games with the Knicks during the season as a rookie. That's big time, and pay attention to that. Yeah, he definitely needs to play more, and I think he's ready to be that permanent starter. Tarek, Chat, everyone out here as well. Quentin Grimes in his second year was a highly touted recruit. Had to stay in college, had a setback, but yeah, he's always had this talent. Nick Yak, best five as of right now: Brunson, RJ, Cam, Randall, and Mitch. That Cam Reddish is another situation where I think they're going to try to have him in this SPIDA deal if it goes through. I'm not sure how much the Utah Jazz prioritize him if they have to pay him soon, but he's a young talent and he's an upswing guy for the Utah Jazz. Now for us as well, I could see the front office also bringing him in and giving him another year, another chance to get more minutes as well, but he has to stay healthy. His future in New York will be decided this year, right? He'll be a restricted free agent. Sanger says, man, there's no D anywhere but at the rim with that roster. Yep. In terms of the smaller backcourt, that is a concern. Tom Thibodeau is certainly going to earn his money trying to get the Knicks to play elite D this season. It's going to be even more challenging with SPIDA here, but that's why I definitely want to keep Quentin Grimes in this deal, out of this deal. His D is more important than his offense to me, right? The way he can hold his own and clamp down, with that situation. But yeah, RJ Barrett, I expect him to take another big leap this year defensively. Offensively, we hope for more efficiency, but I really want to see RJ open up his vision and be more of a playmaker as well. I think that's going to be critical. The Knicks' offense is far too isolation heavy. We need to move the rock and get open shots, right? To me, if we're bringing in Brunson, RJ, and Randall, with those three guys, they're all second options on a team right now. Basically, we don't have a clear-cut number one. So the way we need to play is to remove the rock and let the guy who has it going close the game out as well. And of course, our bench is still going to be dynamic with Rose, IQ, Obi, Cam if he's on the bench, Fournier if he's on the bench, Hartenstein as well, who can stretch the floor more. Hartenstein playing next to Obi is going to be exciting. Two two front court players that can stretch it as well. That's going to be a look that the Knicks have not had in a minute as well. Hey, there could also be closing lineups with Hartenstein maybe next to Randall if we need more floor spacing. You know, RJ and Brunson could get downhill a lot more with the lane less clogged up as well. But yeah, big year for Mitch coming up. Got the bag. Look forward to seeing what he comes in with, hopefully with some new wrinkles and new tools in his game. With that said, they need to look for him more and hit him with the lobs. I hope he becomes a better screen setter and shooting from the free throw line. Right. There's been a lot of talk about Mitch, his future and his potential getting paid, but he needs to get better, truth be told. He got the bag now. He needs to shoot 70%, no less, from the line. Practice those free throws, young man, all summer. And hopefully he can flash a little hook or a mid-range when he's open. Don't expect him to start shooting any contested shots, but if he's wide open, then why not shoot it? And Will, what's good, fam? Not saying a tank, but I don't mind if we rock with what we have and wind up with a similar draft chance this year or higher. Well, yeah, that would be a reality to me with this squad we're bringing in, with the East being a beast. I think the Knicks would most likely make the play-in, but yeah, I don't higher than 8-7. That'd be tough. Everything needs to go right, and somebody would have to make a huge jump. Jose says I could see Obi becoming a star and just keep him playing. Yeah, to me, Obi is a kind of guy in this modern NBA that has that potential. Like you said, if he can stretch the floor, the way he runs the court, getting up and down, his dribbling skills improving as well. Yep, the Knicks have a bright future with these young kings up in here. And Will says, I can see Utah really wanting Obi in this trade. He would provide excitement on a bad team. Yep. That's facts too. Yep. And there's reports, and we can only assume that the Utah Jazz, in terms of the young players, leaving aside the picks, I think with Grimes, Obi, quickly, they would have to be, at the top of the list. Guys on rookie contracts with future potential. And Obi, quickly, and Grimes would have to be top of Danny Ainge's list with young players coming back in this deal. How many of them he wants is probably unrealistic. He probably wants 2 to 3 of them, plus all the picks that he wants as well. No wonder Leon Rose is holding firm right now. And a Melo, what's good? Listen, the bottom line is simply this. We can sit here and speculate this, that, and the third, but as we see it, nothing is moving, huh? Yep, nothing is moving. Yep, definitely. Talks are stalled, and neither side is happy with where things are at, right? But I always said we got time. We ain't close to training camp yet. When there's a deadline on something, when there's urgency on something that for both sides to get things done, you'll hear more talks. And it doesn't take long. All it takes is another phone conversation and sides could get closer. We all know a separation can also make the heart grow fonder in terms of, the two sides know where things are at. They're going out to speak to other teams. Danny Ainge, he might have more motivation to come back to Leon with another talking point, maybe coming off the ledge in terms of letting them keep one more young player or more protections on a pick, etc. Will says, no way, just being realistic. If we don't do the trade, we will probably end up with where we did last year, and I'm cool with it. Yeah, fans with a lot more patience now, with this thing. It's amazing how things have changed 10 years ago. A lot of fans wanted us to get that Melo deal at all costs just to get it over the line. We had Stoudemire. Looked like we were trying to go all in. Right, we're in a completely different situation, ladies and gents, with the unveiling of a 25-year-old point guard in the peak of his powers, and also a young core such as this. Did well in the summer league, and big year for RJ, Obi, IQ, Mitch, Cam, Grimes, Deuce as well. Sims, can't leave him out. And Hartenstein's not old at all. So, yeah, the Knicks have young talent that they've never had all at once, I feel. Not to my memory. Not this many anyway. Of course, they need to continue to grow. They need to produce. They need minutes. But we're cooking with something, definitely, with this thing. And the narrative is going to slowly start to flip with the Knicks, their future, their young core, and where we can go with this thing, right? That's why the longer we take this approach, I think the more leverage the Knicks will have with a Donovan Mitchell trade. With that, we don't need to include Grimes, Obi, and IQ, all of them in the deal. Definitely not. If somebody beats our offer, then I'm happy to let them get him as well. But we can't be giving up all these pieces. Paul says, are the Knicks going to open the offense and share the ball? That's a big question mark, I hope, as well. And I hope coach holds the players accountable that don't, fam, as well. With that said, if Julius is dribbling too much, RJ has tunnel vision, Brunson's not getting dudes involved, he's jacking it up too much, then I hope there's accountability as well. Because that would be, again, the repeat of last season, the ugly that I don't want to see. I want to see these guys share the ball by committee. And Sanger says it's a lot friendlier than we imagine. They talk all the time over Michelin dinners. It doesn't need to be said, but as soon as it starts, bad things happen on draft night. Dirty says, if I'm Leon, I never even pick up the phone. Wait for Ainge to cave a little. Hey, I hope he's showing this kind of resolve because it'd be nice. But yeah, with the 2 weeks of not speaking, that kind of tells me where things are at. That Ainge's asking price is way too high, and Leon's offer isn't to Ainge's liking, but it's also meaning that Leon isn't upping his offer as well. Yeah, Jose says Coach Tibbs needs to mix more D. Needs to mix more D with that situation. OG Anunoby is a guy that people have talked about as well. With Cam Reddish here, getting closer to needing to make a decision with Evan Fournier, I think the team is incredibly motivated to try to get Fournier's salary off as well, especially with what Quentin Grimes showed the world, with what QG can do, and with Cam here as well. Fournier's long-term future is looking less and less secure. So yeah, that's a logjam we need to clear up. But with where the league is going, ladies and gents, like wing defense is imperative. To have any chance at winning, it's absolutely imperative with this thing. We've seen it last season. We saw our D regress. So yeah, it's definitely we know what Fournier can offer. But yeah, it's got to be a situation where we're empowering Quentin Grimes with this thing, right? We got to keep him out of this deal. John, salute from Knicks, still Knicks fans. Salute, Nick Nation. What's good? But yeah, I don't want the Donovan Mitchell trade to happen for the reason you specified, and also all of the assets you give up, which ruins the future for the short-term gains, and you're further away from the chip. Yep. In terms of these assets. Now, I just want to ask you guys too, what is a fair deal? If you can get Donovan Mitchell without bleeding all your assets, right? Are you still on board, right? Are you more of the mindset that the Knicks will have to give up too much? But if we could get Donovan Mitchell at a fair cost, whether it's one of the young players, salary filler, and two of the protected picks and two of the unprotected picks, is that something that you would sign off on? Because in an ideal world, that's where I'm at. As a fair deal, it's one of the young players, one of the better young players, maybe Deuce McBride, Evan Fournier, Cam, two of our protecteds that aren't worth as much, no more than two unprotected, and you get a Donovan Mitchell. I think that's something you got to do. You got to still pull that trigger on that, because you still keep many young picks and players, in your cupboard, and then you can make future moves. You can maneuver and all that stuff. Joseph, hope the Hornets pursue this trade talk. Yeah, Miles Bridges, that could be a name now talked about. The fact that he is all about, with his future uncertain, with that situation, unfortunate thing. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, now that this is out there, ladies and gents, from Shams, from Wiz, the Hornet perspective, right? With Bradley Beal, the Wiz would love to get a Donovan Mitchell, right, and try to open a window to win. There, the Hornets have a heap of young players as well, but all talks are the Utah Jazz want picks. The Knicks have more picks than anybody. It continues to come back to that. How many of these picks will the Knicks want to give up? Dirty says Grimes, Fournier, 2 of the Knicks unprotected, 4 other picks is very fair. Yep, completely agree with that. Yep, I do think that's fair. Yep. You're in a situation where you've just got to give up one of the preferred young players, salary filler, and some picks to please Utah, but not all the picks that we have to give. Like, that's just critical. Like, that's good business. That's fair business. And the Knicks are doing business differently now. We're waiting. We're waiting. We're waiting. We're patient. Right. There's talk that, yeah, Utah have what the Knicks want, but let's not ignore the other side. The New York Knicks have what the Utah Jazz want. Nobody can dispute that, right? Why did they trade Rudy Gobert for 5 first-round picks, right? We cannot ignore that. We cannot ignore the fact that the Knicks have 8 picks over the next 7 years or so, or even less as well. So Will says, I like that all these other teams are negotiating for Mitchell, but no trade frameworks are leaking. Absolutely on point, Will. Well, what are you suggesting there? That these things are just made up? Yeah, in terms of these talks with other teams, there's nothing leaking because they're rubbish deals as well. They're trash, and they just can't get close to what the Knicks can offer as well. And I don't think the Jazz are really motivated as well. But yeah, they're doing their due diligence. Jose Tibbs is a great defensive coach, but he has to show more offense with the great defense to make both things work. Yep, definitely, fam. And he needs to get out of his older ways with riding, Derrick Rose. Taj Gibson's gone. He had to play Jericho Sims a lot more as well. I like this blend of Leon telling, Tibbs, giving him some mandates. Well, whether it be Quentin Grimes needs to start, whether or not this guy needs to get the ball more and things like that, holding guys more accountable. I think Tibbs can stay longer if he's less stubborn, and Leon also helps the situation by setting him up to succeed, right? Telling him what you need him to do and saying it's my way or the highway. Oh, you'll be surprised how some fans don't care about the future. They want to see a freak show, a circus play in, maybe one round, and F to the future as well. Yeah, look, there are fans from different perspectives. Completely agree with that. Um, I don't blame any fan as well, because the New York Knicks have been bad for 50 years, ladies and gentlemen. There could be a 60, 70-year-old fan that may seriously question how much longer they're going to be alive to see a winning team. But also, yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way to build either. This is a crazy league, 30 teams. It's the toughest league to win in this NBA. You got young athletes, generational guys, and it's tough to win. But you got to build solid foundations to have continued success. Paul says with the youth on the Knicks should be playing like Memphis. Yep. Playing gritty D, getting up in guys, doing all of that, fam. Yep. Agree with that. right? I'm making this push for Quentin Grimes to start, right? Evan Fournier off the bench, if he's still around, would be fire. Coming off with D Rose, quickly Fournier, or Cam, and Obi, and then Hartenstein. I think that'd be a solid lineup. Washington can't even trade their picks. We control it for the next few years. On point is Dirty Dancer with that. We have, at least one or two of them, I think. David says Rick Brunson will be involved on offense schemes with Tibbs. Yeah, Rick Brunson up in here. I don't know much about his coaching philosophies, but yeah, he's a new guy in here. It's going to be interesting to see what he looks like, how he helps this team and all of that, fam. Thanks for this, Dirty. We have 11 over the next 7, but can only trade 8, though. Yep. 8's a sweet spot as well, right? We don't have to do anything but continue to stay patient because, picks have all the currency in the league, ladies and gents. Yep, the picks mean a lot around this league, and we are sitting pretty with young players and the picks as well, fam. Yep, absolutely loving what we're doing in terms of this flexibility, and it's why everyone's giving props to Sam Presti, but the New York Knicks are building along that line with the longer pick, with the bigger pick haul we have. Sanger says that's a very considerate perspective. And Dirty Dancer, people are too worried about not being able to compete with the Giannis when he'll be washed by the time we are ready to compete. Well, it's hard to say washed, but I get what you're saying as well. Truth is, we always try to envision the future, but it's impossible to know exactly what's going to happen, right? In 2 years' time, if the Bucks window flames out, who's not to say that he won't latch onto the Golden State Warriors or something? It's a crazy league, right? Players want to maximize their windows, right? This CBA is just going to be crazy, right? Player empowerment is through the roof right now. KD, Kyrie, dudes choosing wherever they want to go. It's going to be crazy. Jose, if Donovan really wants to come, he should push it or ask out of the Jazz. No lies there as well. That's what he should really do if he wants to. Well, we're seeing a guy that's just sitting pretty. He's balling out at the Miami Pro League. He's spending New York in the off season. He's spending his off season here. But you're right, man. It's frustrating. He should just tell him where he wants to go, and I think that will give us more leverage. We are in a stalemate, says John. Hold tight, and we will have a chance to pull the trigger on the trade before the start of the season. Yeah, absolutely. True words there. Let's just continue to have these talks, let them talk around the league with other teams. But we have the picks that Utah want. We have the young pieces to match it as well. We just need the right blend. We don't have to include everything. We need flexibility to continue to build after getting Mitchell. That's huge. But my concerns are real defensively over the backcourt, ladies and gents, with that situation. My concerns are real with that. And we can't just have RJ on an island alone as the lone perimeter wing defender with this thing, right? He's not an elite perimeter defender at this point in time. And I need to keep Quentin Grimes out this deal. I'd be willing to part with Obi if they needed one of the young players. Well, but not 2 young players. Not Obi, IQ, or Grimes with that. Tarek says, okay, you have a point, but if you're under 50 and you say F the future, shame on you. Yeah, facts, right? Absolutely. Yep. With that said, if you're young enough and you want to see this team be a continued winner, right? Let them just do their job, do it the right way up in this thing, right? We've finally got things buzzing. We've got young pieces, assets, players on the come up. It's exciting time to be a Knicks fan, right? That's why we're all up in here chopping this thing up, right? I love seeing this team play ball. We just need to see what these players look like this upcoming season, and then make decisions based on that. Right? We're not even into training camp. We don't have to force a crazy deal just because of Danny Ainge's timeline, ladies and gents and fam. Right? He's made a career out of fleecing dudes, teams and front offices that are desperate. And I feel like he's, by these talks stalling and this report leaking, they're finally talking and seeing that the Knicks are real with this thing. We're not desperate. We're not pushing for anything. Everyone wants to attach the Donovan Mitchell from New York thing with the Knicks to say that we're desperate. I think that's far from that, right? We're not desperate at all. A team with 8 first-round picks in the next 7 years, tradable picks, is not a team that's going to be desperate, I don't think. We didn't even make the play-in, and we're sitting here chopping up our young players. So, yeah, times have changed with the fan base. Also, although Donovan has no D, he's high arsenal with Clifford on the Hornets. He can be a defensive player once he was there. Yep. Says Joseph. Will says we don't know. Donovan Mitchell hasn't asked out, even in New York specifically, and both sides agreed best to keep it hush. Look, that's possible. Appreciate that, Will. That's definitely possible with that. He's definitely a respectful guy with Donovan, I think he respects Utah, the franchise, all of that. They traded Rudy, the guy that he didn't really get along with, didn't have great chemistry with as well. I don't think he would be upset if he had to stay there another year, because of that fact, because Rudy's no longer there as well. Now, it would waste a year of his prime. I'm not saying this is what Donovan would want, but I don't think he would hate it either. Otherwise, he really, really would force his way out, right? A dude that maybe hasn't forced his way out, maybe that is a situation where he's okay and just waiting, biding his time till he's traded. Paul says Knicks can't pay all of their youth, though. A trade is coming, Donovan or not. Yep, completely agree. No lies there, fam. If you look at the long list, RJ needs to be paid. Then if they want Cam to stay, they're going to have to pay him. They paid Mitch. Well, Obi and IQ in 2 more years' time, they're going to have to pay. Grimes is coming up. There definitely will be a trade. Yep. The Knicks will land a veteran in the next few years, whether it's SPIDA or somebody else. I just hope it's the right veteran, right young player on the come up. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander stands out to me as well. But yeah, I could see Deuce definitely having the most likeliness that Deuce isn't a Knick out of the group here, with the point guard situation, Brunson, Quickly, Rose. If Spider's here, where are his minutes going to come from? That's my main thing as well. Yep, definitely. There are people that are desperate up in here. Desperate times call for desperate measures. The Knicks' future are their young core, and it takes one mistake to trade an army over Danny Ainge. Yep, that definitely. Yeah, we got to see what these young players look like, and then we can make better assessments with this thing, right? You bring Quentin Grimes into preseason, maybe into the start of the season, and he's a starting guard producing, then it's like, it's sorry, Danny Ainge, but you're not getting Grimes, right? He loses leverage that way as well. What we currently lack in defensive intensity, we will make up with athleticism and hopefully a Tibbs defensive scheme attached to a motivated group of players can make a way for the respectable squad. Yep. On point there, John. Yeah, I think the athleticism will improve getting up and down as well. But yeah, the rim protection is critical too. Not just relying on a Mitch. If he fouls out or he's injured, then we're back to, Taj Gibson at center. We don't have that problem anymore. We have Hartenstein and we have Jericho. So that's critical for it. For a team with average perimeter D, you need that rim protection. That's how Utah survived for as long as they did. David says, I am losing patience on this SPIDA. Dolan just blocked Danny. He bugging. Yeah. I'm losing the patience on this spider. Dolan just blocked Danny. He bugging. Yeah. In terms of the patience thing, fam, I know it's all these reports that came out early. Well, that kind of sped up the timeline. But truth is, look, Danny Ainge, this is a guy that's done big business around the league. Like, he's been in these blockbuster deals, right? Whereas Leon has not. And he's going to continue to scratch and claw and hold on to as long as he can, right? To see the best ultimate deal. He's under pressure from Utah Jazz ownership and all of that stuff, fam, as well. So, yeah, like we've always been saying, this is an absolute monumental deal for both sides, for everybody involved up in this thing. And yeah, not surprised. And hopefully James Dolan doesn't cave and just continue to let Leon do his work as well. Because James Dolan, everyone out there, we have a amazing young team, young core, and we have a bright future with this thing, ladies and gents. Yeah. Continue to let these national media narrative clown our team and young players, but we really know when the season starts, the value and the talk is going to change, right, with this thing. But yeah, I do see things getting awkward with the Jazz. Like this story from Sports Illustrated says, they want to bring Mitchell, if they're serious, bring him into training camp, bring him into the preseason, start of the season, right? What's going to be the topic of the distraction, the conversations after every game, right? Donovan Mitchell facing the beat writers and stuff. What do they think that's going to be all cozy and nothing's going to be said, right? That's going to be tough for Danny Ainge, right? That's why he's getting a little bit more desperate in terms of talking to other teams, right? That also tells me that he's looking to make the deal still before the start of the season, right? He's trying to, put pressure on the Knicks, trying to get other teams involved, doing what he can, using the media to help his aim, his narrative, and all of that. But yeah, focusing on Jalen Brunson's leadership, ladies and gentlemen, it was beautiful. He was talking to Derek Harper as well on the pod. Jay Wright, his college coach, thinks he's going to be perfect for the New York Knicks environment. Going to handle the pressure, all of those things as well. Really look forward to seeing what we look like with this point guard play now, and a proper point guard running this team. And ladies and gentlemen, super chat in the building from Eddie F. Salute. What's good? Salute everyone out here. Appreciate it. Eddie F. What's good, my friend? CT, I'm a shameless IQ fan. I can't wait to see year 3 from him with or without Spider. Why do we seem to be sleeping on my Quick? Hey, certainly some fans are. Definitely feel you on that, fam. I'm certainly not sleeping on Quick as well. I feel out of Grimes, Quick, and Obi, I really feel like IQ is the one that they value the highest out of the 3 of them from the consensus of the front office, fam. With that, I think Tom Thibodeau, out of all of them too, he loves Quick the most as well. Yeah, but definitely Quick has the most value around the league, I find as well. He's got a lot of respect from execs around the league. They know he's a shot maker as well. His playmaking took a huge leap, Eddie, chat, and his defense as well. You got to give him credit. He's getting stronger out here. Is IQ getting stronger, and I look forward to seeing year 3 from Quick, definitely. But what's interesting is what we bring up too about the contracts too, and I want you to tell me. Let's say we get to another year or 2 down the track, and you have to make a financial decision on Quick. Well, you have to have decided, is he an NBA starter? And if not, you need to be starting him if he is. So yeah, the Knicks do need to make that decision, fam. With that said, with bringing Brunson and Spider, that eliminates an opportunity for Quick to get starting minutes as well. But yeah, this season's all ahead of him for Quick in terms of proving the doubters wrong. Well, there's certainly no shameless being a fan of IQ, because yeah, he's got the right makeup to be that New York Knick that we love, and he could get us to help us win and close games out, shooting, playmaking, and that. I think the doubt comes from his size as well. You're talking about a 6'3" guard. I think if Quick was 6'5", dudes would be talking about him like yeah, man, he's a building block. Definitely. If it was 6'4", 6'5", I think size, being that combo guard, hurts Quick's ceiling among fans, I think, with that situation. But yeah, huge year ahead for Quick as well. And I see him being a New York Knick. Eddie, I'll be surprised if he's playing for any other team next season. Well, I could see IQ being kept out of any deal as well. Appreciate you for that support. Let's get it, everybody. And Dirty says, good luck, Jazz, wasting a year of your rebuild in a deep draft. Yeah, definitely, right, wasting that year. And that's the reason why they traded Rudy, right? They revealed their cards. So yeah, can't say or do anything else other than that, right? They revealed their cards, but yet the New York Knicks are the desperate ones. It's funny how they overlook the facts, the old narratives of the Knicks, right? That's how we shake these old narratives off. We just continue to operate in the new way, not in the old ways of the New York Knicks. But Canal says, yeah, if we get Spider, then IQ will only be a 6-man at best. Completely agree. Yep. You will know this year, absolutely too. Yep. With Brunson and Spider, you got to prioritize them. Obviously, their age still as well. Quickly's he's not old, but he's not young either as well. Yep. The time is nigh for Emmanuel to push to be that starting player if he can be. But yeah, he'll definitely be a great 6-man, I think, for a long, long time. Yeah, Carl always had offense, but he was never a stiff. Yep. And this is why we need to keep Cam at all costs, says Canal. High on Cam with that thing, fam. He has a lot of value still around the league, believe it or not, for that high swing upside kind of guy. Will says, would love to see IQ shock everyone and snatch the starting 2 role. Yeah, that'd be a shock too. But yeah, wouldn't surprise me at some point this season to see Quick starting. With that said, I think Quick's got all the right tools. He can shoot, can defend for this team. Well, and that's another thing we shouldn't sleep on too. If we don't get Spider, look for IQ to take that next jump. Well, close out games, get more exposure, all of those things. Lucas, salute. I think we need Spider, and I think he will bring someone big in 2025, but we can't lose Obi. So Lucas doesn't want to lose Obi in this situation as well. Well, it's Obi or Randall out the door, fam. And yeah, there is talk that if Spider Mitchell becomes a Knick, then Julius Randle is out the door soon after. Well, and I could understand that. Eddie, I want to see Cam get a solid sample of games. Yep. I think the front office would love that too. Definitely in terms of to justify that trade that they made. Yeah. Also, yeah, Tarek, not a fan of Cam, but we have Ferron Hunt as well. Ferron Hunt Avengers Unite. Yeah, Ferron Hunt. Let's see what he has up his sleeve this season. Had a nice summer league. Started out hot, but yeah, came back down to earth a little. But yeah, great upside, great athleticism, defense, all of that as well. That's what we have the 2-way spots for as well, with this opportunity for Hunt to try to get his way into the rotation as well. I do look for Hunt to get a great opportunity if Fournier or Cam is traded as well, because we need more wing depth. If you look at any spots this team has, it's wing depth that we're lacking right now. Well, I don't want RJ Barrett to get injured playing 40 minutes a night, having to defend everybody, especially with a smaller backcourt. Yeah, ladies and gents. So yeah, continue to chop this thing up as well. We've got another show dropping tomorrow as well. Like I said, interview. We'll be chopping it up with Coach Nick from B-Ball Breakdown, talking about the current makeup of this team and what it might look like with a SPIDA as well, which younger players he would keep out of the deal and which he thinks the Knicks would be better off keeping. I think he'll mention Quentin Grimes for sure. But yeah, it's going to be fun, as we get ready to wrap this thing up as well. The chat's been on point. Well, look for more news to come, but stay patient, Leon. We don't need to force no move right now. Let's force the Jazz hand and see what comes of it. Let's see what happens next, right? Because we're cooking with the right ingredients, with picks, young players. We got everything they want. We just don't need to give it all up right now. We just don't. Like I said, I don't see us getting into that Eastern Conference contendership with Donovan Mitchell, right? It's got to be what's next and what's coming up as well. Lucas, appreciate you. Everyone out here, subscribe, like, share this thing. Got big things coming up with content and are always ready to chop this thing up as well. Fan base, best in the world, best chat in the biz, the Mecca. Team No Sleep out here as well. And yeah, we'll get it on the next one as well, ladies and gents. Keep it buzzing. Appreciate you as well. Continue the conversation. Replay gang down in the comment section. And let's get it on the next one. Salute everybody. The streets are buzzing.